Hey everybody, this is Jose here. We're about to start the session. We got 25 seconds to go. As always, quick little message, if possible, on the comments box. If you were to type a quick hello, good morning, something like that, that would be my clue for me to know that you hear my voice. That way we can start on time. So please, everybody, give us a quick hello, good morning, if you're in the States or this side of the world, or good evening if you happen to be in the Asian side of the world. Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Good. Perfect. So let me maximize the time frame of the S&P, the Nasdaq. All those markets were closing below the average. So it's looking like, we may have a downtrend in this initial part of the trading day, which is great. Okay, so we're going to be planning on those trades in just a minute. But before, a quick introduction for the day. Today is April 30, 2019. Today we are getting together for short-term trading purposes. We'll be planning on trades for intraday trading. And those trades will be planned using futures. And also, hopefully, we have a little bit of time for Forex. Okay, so that's the goal. So we also have a disclaimer. Well, I haven't said my name. My name is Jose Blasco. I'll be your guide. And I would like to begin as well with the disclaimer, okay? So let's go for it. The following videos, clips, demonstrations are for educational and instructional purposes only. Tradictive provide these videos purely for the purpose of demonstrating a method of using the product. Users understand that all the content used in the video is purely for demonstration purposes only and is not a guide and does not provide any indication or prediction of actual results. As a user, you understand and agree that hypothetical results obtained through the demonstration do not indicate in any way the results you may receive on using our products. Perfect. So we got our launch of the day taken care of, introduction, the date, etc., etc. A few comments on the comments box here. Let me see. Yeah, I see a few familiar names, a few new names as well. How are you, everyone? Ben, nice to see you, my friend. Everybody, nice to see you, of course. Hello, Jose. This is Rose. This is my first time to join you live. My friend Orlando told me about you. Very good. So we have multiple things in common then, Rose. Orlando is a friend of both of us, and we have this passion for trading, isn't it? So let's have fun today, and apart from fun, of course, let's plan good trades so we can grow our skill, our account, our confidence, our everything. Okay, guys? So that's the plan. A pleasure to see you all, my friends. So let's begin. So guys, very quick, I will be focusing most of the time on the column on the right. Wait 1 second, guys. I got my mouse in the wrong screen. Here we go. So I will be focusing on this column on the left most of the times. So we're going to be planning trades on the 2-minute time frame. But that 2-minute time frame is also equivalent to shares and ticks that depend on the market that you trade, S&P, Nasdaq, etc. And then, of course, we also have the reactive time frames on the right for the traders that want to be reactive. Another way to say that is a little more on the conservative side. So I'll be implementing all of this today. I'll begin with S&P and Nasdaq because those markets are amazing. They're super liquid. They are large. They are reliable, etc., etc. And then we will expand this analysis to other markets. I would like to spend a little bit of time on Forex as well, as I said earlier today. Okay, but let's begin. We started here with the Nasdaq. So first, the first trade I plan, and I'll try to be quite detailed into what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, and the following trades I'll move a little faster. Okay, guys, we've been spending 4 weekends, 4 Sundays doing sharpening for futures and Forex intraday. So this allows us to speak a little bit of the same language now, and therefore we can move a little faster. Okay, so what are we looking for? Where we are looking for this value, 77.95 on the Nasdaq. This is the average value on the common 15-minute time frame. So that price level, 75.95, let's call it 96, it's an important figure for us to keep in mind because we may have potential on-field orders to be added at this price. And that's important because the prior close, remember, we kind of ignore the last candle, right? So we don't pay attention to the last candle. We look at the prior candle. The prior candle had a close that compared to its average is a close below. And not only that, when looking down, we can also see that the DMI is pointing red. So this is telling us that we are in that common time frame of 15 minutes. We are in a strong downtrend, and therefore we know trends tend to last. When they are strong, they tend to move fast. So we want to ideally join the downtrend, but we want to do it at a price around the average, because that price, 77.95.96, is a price where we may have potential for new on-field orders to be added to the market. So what do? Well, now that we understand the market environment, we move up to look at our edge time frame, which in the case of the Nasdaq is the 987 share bar, the 610 tick bar, and these are the time frames that you can find in this portion of this table when looking at the Nasdaq. Okay, so 2 minutes. Okay. But also for shares and ticks, we got the 987 and the 610, which are the ones I am using on my computer screen as we speak. Okay, so what am I looking for? I'm looking for red UFOs in the edge time frames that are the 3 on the top. Okay, but I'm not gonna take any UFO just because it's a UFO, which of course that could actually make sense, but it would make even more sense from a probability standpoint if we were to find that UFO lining up with the price of the average, which is 77.96, something like that. Okay, so if you look at this one here, the bottom part of this UFO, if I was to click and hold, is 77.97, so it's a little above the average, not ideal. This one is way below the average. Actually, current price is there, more or less. Okay, so that one is too low. And if you look at this one, sorry for that, I'm just gonna click and hold on the rectangle. So it's 77.98, so that one is also above the average. Okay, and if I was to look at this one is even higher, if I'm not mistaken, with an entry price of 77.98.75. So good news about the Nasdaq, we have this beautiful downtrend developing. Bad news about the Nasdaq, all the UFOs we have are not lining up with the average. Okay, so again, if you were to follow another trading methodology or process, you could certainly plan a trade, and it's not like you're doing something crazy. But in order to stack as many odds as possible in our side, and most importantly as well to be mechanical, and to keep your emotions under control, you want to follow a very rigid, standardized process and follow those rules with impeccable professional discipline. Therefore, we are not going to take any trade on the Nasdaq at the moment, which doesn't mean we don't have a trade, because remember those 3 time frames. Okay, every time 3 new candles form on the top, a new UFO may form. Okay, and for 3 candles to be formed on the one in the left, you need 6 minutes. So every 6 minutes, you could come back and review if a new UFO has formed. That one, we don't know how long it's going to take because it's a share bar. So you don't know if it's going to take 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends on the time of the day. If you got a lot of trading activity, many shares will be executed. In this case, it's not shares, it's contracts, even though it's called shares. And it may take 30 seconds for a UFO to form, or it may take 30 minutes for a UFO to form. You never know. With the tick bar, is the same thing. You never know when the UFO is going to form, so you just need to come back from time to time and watch this. When I do this presentation for you guys, well, of course, I am using one screen, which is the screen I'm sharing, but, probably when you guys are doing this for yourself at home, you may be using 2, maybe 3 computer screens. That is very personal and personal preference, but it would be quite convenient to have those different workspaces that I'm using with the Nasdaq, the S&P, and other markets that you may trade, to have those workspaces in different computer screens or different regions on your computer screen, and that way you can easily monitor when one of the UFOs form. In my case, I'll have to switch back and forth between workspaces because I only have one screen to share when I stream via YouTube. Okay. So let me take a look at more comments that may came in. Let me see. I got Bojan. How are you, Bojan? Jose, just a quick question. Is the calibration of the UFO on the instruments we are seeing default 0.5? Yes. At this moment in time, I am using 0.5, if I am not mistaken. Let me double check this in case I said something wrong. I believe I'm using 0.5 inputs on the UFO. Yes, 0.5. That's the setting I'm using. Okay. And by the way, your question just gave me an opportunity here, which is to say one more time. If you were with me on Sunday, you know it already. But on May 11, okay, guys, May 11, we will be conducting. Here we go. Get together on the upper left. So when this sharpening session is going to be very special because it's going to be like a Q&A. We're going to talk about everything and beyond. And one of the key subjects for that day, it's going to be a calibration. Okay. And starting from that day, I will have a little bit of a change on the settings of my current calibration. Right now, I am just using the standard parameter because that's what comes by default. I understand that this is what most of you are using as you get to use AutoUFOs for the first time. So, just to keep it simple, I'm using 0.5, which is not a wrong calibration setting. It's just what comes by default and it's fine. But we'll talk about some improvements there. And, I will show you exactly what I do for myself, which is just what I do for myself, which you may decide to mimic me, or you may decide to do something slightly different. I'll give you both possibilities, okay? But for now, yes, the answer is yes, 0.5. Mario, yes, thank you for that. Ricky, hi Jose, I can't see what you're talking about, screen frozen. Okay, so if your screen is frozen, and it seems that no one else is complaining about it, probably it has to do with your YouTube settings. So I think that the way to fix it would be that you either refresh your browser, or you move down, and in the bottom part of YouTube, you have this settings wheel. So you can click on the settings wheel and change the resolution. You can pick auto or whatever other parameter. And, normally YouTube will kind of refresh and catch up, and everything should be back to normal. Okay, so try that, Ricky. Oh, it's fine now. Okay, I hear you now. Good. Irwin, 7796 is in lining up with a red UFO in the 610. Yeah, exactly. So that's why we are not executing anything at the moment, okay? So we had, since I've been discussing all of this, no major change. We have a new UFO form here on the share bar, if I'm not mistaken. But again, that one is below the average, so we don't have what we need, okay? Good. What else do we have here? Rose, I recommend that you watch the previous sessions. Lot to catch up and process. All good. Thanks, Orlando, for that. Good. So anyway, what do we do if you don't have a trade? Well, again, you wait a few minutes until new UFOs form, or you switch to another market, in this case, the S&P. Okay, so what do we have? And also, 3 minutes from now, we'll have a new close in the bottom chart. But remember, you ignore the last candle. Just don't pay attention to this candle like it's not there. You look at the prior one, and you can see the close is below the average, right? And on top of that, we got red when it comes to DMI. So we have the same market condition with the S&P and the NASDAQ. So we have a downtrend, and the downtrend is strong. So what we need is a red UFO. And we would like the red UFO to be lining up with 2942. Okay, so 2942 is right here on the 2-minute time frame, and obviously we got nothing. 42 is here on the share bar, and 42 is here when it comes to the tick chart. So it seems that in this beginning part of the day, we don't have any UFO lining up with the average. Okay, so we may need, we still have 17 minutes to go before the market opens. So we still have plenty of time for UFOs to form, and we're gonna have a new close either above or below the average in just a few minutes from now. We'll see if we end up planning on long trades or short trades. You can see that new green UFOs are just forming in these time frames. So if we were to have a close above the average, that may mean that now instead of short we start planning on longs. So we will see that 1 minute and a half from now. By the way, there is a little bit of delay between my time on my side of the world on my computer and your time, because of how YouTube propagates the streaming that I'm doing. So we may have anywhere between 10 to 20 seconds delay. So you may see the market open on your side just like 10-20 seconds before that you see it on the YouTube stream. Okay, so but anyway, it's not that big as a difference. So what else do we have here? Brent, Jose, I have missed these, but do you have a rule for how close a UFO needs to be to the average? It doesn't need to be close. It needs to be in the middle. Okay, NQ now. Let's take a look at NQ, Orlando. So what do we have? Nothing has changed in NQ. I guess you meant a new green UFO just formed. Maybe that's what you mean. Brent, back to your question. We don't have a rule for how close. You just need the moving average to be overlapping that UFO or fall between UFOs. Okay, sometimes you may have a setup such as this setup where you have 2 or 3 UFOs so close that the white space in between is so tiny that it doesn't make sense to have a stop in between, right? So then you would treat all of this as one big UFO, and you don't care where the average is, but as long as the average is somewhere in the middle, that would be good enough for you to take the trade. Okay, so we are looking for that overlap. H Rose, yes, Orlando, I've been watching Jose's recording for a few weeks. Thanks. Got it. Perfect. So anyway, so the new update took place. We have a new close below the average, still red, so still downtrend, strong downtrend on the Nasdaq. Unfortunately, that UFO is still far away. It's above the 95, 96 level that we need. It's more in the 98s, 97s, and therefore it's too far. So we cannot have a trade on the Nasdaq. Let's take a look at the S&P. Same story on the S&P. We have the close, we have the average at 41, and it seems that we have no UFOs lining up. Hey guys, so that's trading. So what do you do when something like that happens? Again, it's either you have a greater collection of markets for you to trade, such as the euro, the pound, other currencies such as crude oil, gold, other commodities, which I will incorporate those commodities into the sessions sometime soon. Okay, but you could certainly do that. The other choice is wait. Okay, and again, the last thing you want to do though is to break the rules. Okay, and we have to be impeccably disciplined. Okay, impeccably disciplined. Therefore, no breaking the rules, no not doing anything that doesn't reflect what the rules are. Okay, so sitting on your hands if there is no trade in front of us. This is probably the most difficult part of the life of a trader, and this is something that we need to learn to control if you happen to be in learning stages. Okay, for the ones of you that have been trading for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so sitting on your hands, just follow the rules, do nothing unless the rules tell you to do something. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since we're going to have to wait just a few minutes until something happens, meaning new UFOs form or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and load my generic workspace with the UFOs. Wait a minute, I think I opened the wrong one. Yes, I think I opened the wrong one. So let me go ahead. I wanted to open the EML lab and I just opened the one I normally use with options. Let me close this one. So I'm just going to use a generic workspace that you saw a few weeks ago, which is the EML lab. Okay, here we go, EML lab, where I don't have it customized for any markets. It's all time-based, okay? There is no share bars or tick charts. And that one is going to be ideal for Forex trading, because with Forex trading, we talked about that last Sunday, with Forex trading, there is no, how do you call it? There is no shares or ticks because it's a decentralized product. So we said that when we trade Forex, okay, we would be using a minimum of 60-minute time frames to identify the trend and a 8-minute time frame to identify our entries. The 8-minute time frame would be the one acting as the edge time frame for us. Okay, so what do we have? Again, just very quick here to be visual for you guys. So what I'm doing now with the Forex middle column, I'm looking at the 8-minute time frame. Of course, I am ignoring all of these because all of this is shares and ticks, and this applies to the futures market. So I am ignoring all of this, okay? And I am focusing only on the minute time frames. Okay, so basically I'm using the 60-minute time frame for trend identification, and I am using the 8-minute time frame as an edge time frame with this Forex trade that I did a long time ago before we went over the sharpening session. So let me correct this very quickly, and that way you also see how I navigate within the TradeStation, so you can replicate that yourself. I just copied the window. I am now pasting the window. Okay, of course the symbol is wrong because it's still the Nasdaq, but this is how I'm going to correct it. So I'm just putting the window here in the bottom part of my screen. Here we go. I'm going to change it to 60, and then symbol linking. I'm going to link it to the blue symbol, which is the euro. Okay, so what do we have? So we have the euro, which is in an uptrend. The prior close is above the average, and the uptrend is strong. As you can see, by looking at the green below. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to get long, and for you to get long, you need to find UFOs on the upper part that are lining up with this value of 112.08. Okay, and in this case, actually, it's gonna be a tricky one. I would say we're gonna pass, okay, because what's concerning me here is that, you know, even though we do have a UFO, okay, and this goes back to Bojan's question earlier, even though we have this UFO, which is lining up with 0907, and 0907 definitely is, wrapping this value of 112.08, the problem I have with that is that, you know, when the euro, if the euro was to come down and come to my green UFO, and then, you know, potentially bounce out of this UFO, the problem is that when this happens, my average will also have gone down just by a little bit. And therefore, I am just a little concerned that then the average may be below 07, and therefore I am still in a trade that makes sense. Actually, it would make 71% sense, right? But at the same time, I don't want to rely only on the on-field orders available in the market now. I also want to rely on potential for new on-field orders to kick in. And of course, if my moving average went down, well, now I'm missing on a little bit of a higher probability there. Okay, so I would want to look at other currency pairs to plan on this trade, and I'm going to be a little selective and picky. And even though it's looking almost good, almost what we need, I'm going to say no to the euro. By the way, to some of you, depending on the broker that you use, you may have a little bit of a different price for this UFO because different Forex brokers will give you different data feeds. And some of you may give it a yes, may give it a go, okay? Again, the key is that you have this figure in your favor. But at the same time, our job is to follow the rules. So based on the data I have on my screen, I am not allowed to take the trade. Okay, so I'll go back to other currencies such as the pound, etc., in a minute. But it seems that some of you have identified on the S&P red UFOs forming. So I would like to take a look at that. So in the S&P, we got 41. Okay, I see no UFO here. Let me see. Maybe I came late and you guys already took the trade. Red UFO. Oh, but you are using, okay, Bojan, yes, I hear you. You are using the 377 tick bar, which I believe is one that we are not using, right? Because for the S&P, we're using the 1597 tick bar. So, of course, if you're looking at smaller time frames, you will get to identify smaller packets of orders. But we talked about in the sharpening sessions. I'm not sure if you were with us in that one, Bojan. We talked about some equivalency metrics and how to look for equivalency in the ticks and the shares and so on. And we came up with this table, which implies that we are not using the 377. For edge purposes, okay? And the one below, which is the 377, that one is a reactive one. And the reactive one, it's only being used as an extra confirmation to get an extra piece of evidence that confirms that what you had in the above charts is true. Meaning that we don't take trades out of the bottom charts. The bottom charts are only for extra evidence if you want to take the trade in a reactive fashion. We talked about that last weekend. Okay, so I get your point, but that will not be the reason for us to plan on the trade. Okay, so let me take a look at the Nasdaq one more time in case something happened with the Nasdaq. Not much. Okay, and we also know this. I remember stating this before. That when the market is about to open, normally everything cools down until when the market opens, and then everything speeds up, right? It's the classical opening process. Okay, so at the moment we are in waiting mode, 5 more minutes, okay, which is when the market will open. Irwin, there is a red UFO in the 2584 share. At the moment, it has disappeared. Oh, okay. So then, if some UFO had formed at this price level and price came back. Okay, let me see, because if I change the settings, hopefully we can see it. Okay, so I get to understand what you guys see. Okay, and you will understand my comment immediately as well. So if I change the setting to hide hid UFO to false, here we go. That's the red UFO you are talking about. Okay. So yes, a red UFO form, but what's the problem? This would not have been a good one for us to take the trade because the top of this UFO is 41.5, where the average is above that. In other words, you would be using a UFO below the average without having this powerful setup where the UFO is within the average, or I should say the opposite. The average is within the UFO. Okay. So now this one has disappeared because, trading has taken place already, many on-field orders got filled, and the algo understands it's not a high probability anymore, so it basically removes it from the screen. So we don't see it anymore. We only see what's most relevant, okay? But at the same time, even though it was there, this one would not qualify as an entry because it was not really lining up with those averages, okay? Cool. Very good. Perfect. Okay, so we got 3 more minutes before the market opens and everything will spice up, I would say. So let's go ahead and take a look, and maybe we have time to look at the pound in these 3 minutes. So if I load the pound, what do we have? Well, the pound has a very similar setup compared to the euro, in the sense that we have an uptrend and the uptrend is strong. Okay, the uptrend is strong. Okay, so we have a very, very similar setup in that sense. The average price is 93. Unfortunately 93 is somewhere here, and somewhere here we got nothing. So we're gonna have to wait for something else to form, or wait until 10 a.m. Eastern time, when the next candle will form on the British pound, and therefore the average that is currently 93, it's recalculated to a higher value and hopefully coincides with, a higher UFO such as the one I'm pointing out with the mouse, okay? So what else can we check? We can go ahead and check on the US dollar yen. So what's happening with the US dollar yen? Okay, so the US dollar yen, was in a downtrend, and powerful downtrend, but notice how, and I say was, a little too soon to say was, to be honest, but it's looking like at this time that is really challenging this average. So at this moment in time, there is no trade to be taken because there is no UFO around 111.39. Current price is 111.40, which is basically 39, and there is no red UFO here. So because there is no red UFO at current price and the UFOs are much higher, well, we are not going to take any trade unless a few minutes from now, a new UFO forms here, okay, red color, because the market starts going down, and then a new UFO forms around 111.40, which is the average, right? And then you would be very, very keen to wait for the yen to go back to the UFO and take a trade to the short side and hopefully keep riding this very strong downtrend that may continue and keep going down. But at the moment, we don't have that confirmation, and therefore we are not going to guess this is going to happen just because we want it to happen. We're just going to wait for UFOs to form, have an extra confirmation, extra piece of evidence that supports a decision process which is objective, okay, instead of hopeful. Helen, yes, absolutely. CL, I believe if the car was asking about CL2, etc. And yes, CL is a fantastic market to be traded, but I am not adding it to these sessions at the moment because based on your questions, I understand that many of the attendees are, let's call it, in learning stages still, and CL is a very fast moving market, so I'm just going from easier to be traded to more advanced to be traded. That's what I'm doing. So we will incorporate fast moving markets, high volatility markets a little bit later in time, but I love crude oil. It's actually one of my favorites when it comes to speed of movement, and you're trading a real thing there. Is when you trade the Nasdaq. Don't get me wrong, I love the Nasdaq too, but the Nasdaq is an index, is a mathematical calculation where crude oil is actually a real thing. Okay, so anyway, the market just opened. Back to the equity index markets. So we are 50 seconds into the market open. The strong downtrend seems to be giving another push to the downside. We have a new value for the average, which is 93. 93, so we are looking for UFOs around 93, and actually we have one here. Okay, so the top of this UFO is like 95.25. So we actually have a trade to be planned here on the Nasdaq. This is going to be quite quick for us to plan. So step one, look at the market condition. I'm going to try to speak as fast as I can. Close below, strong downtrend, so time to go short. To go short, we're looking for UFOs lining up with 94. Certainly, the UFO that we found on the tick time frame is lining up, so this is time to take a trade. Our methodology tells us that we should be looking at the target. The target should be identified in the 60-minute time frame for the Nasdaq. Okay, so 60-minute time frame for the Nasdaq. This is what I am loading in the bottom part of my screen. We are looking for the 60-minute time frame target because it is a strong downtrend. If it was not to be a strong downtrend, we would use the 15-minute time frame. So I'm gonna be looking at green UFOs on the 60. Okay, here we go, and we can see that the next green UFO in the 60 is located at 47.5. So 47.5, that would be the target. That's 50 points down. So there is plenty of room for this beautiful market to really make us happy moving to the downside, as long as I am fast enough to enter this trade, which it seems I'm not going to be fast enough. Yeah, actually, the red UFO went away already. I'm just being a little too slow here. So anyway, I'm gonna have to be disciplined on myself and not to take the trade, because even though if you had the time yourself to take the trade, you will be in the trade now, and you know, potentially this thing will start moving down in a moment, even though it's looking like there is an intense fight around the average price, where green UFOs keep kicking in, and it seems that the fight is intense enough where we may see a close above the average in a few minutes from now. Okay, so if you have taken the trade, well, this is a trade that didn't work. Okay, so if you have taken the trade, this trade didn't work if you were relying exclusively on that red UFO, and therefore we're gonna have to be careful with the Nasdaq showing this incredible amount of strength. We don't have the evidence yet, but I would not be surprised if the next candle we have a close above the average and we have green show up in our DMI. Okay, again, it would be way faster if on your side you were to be using multiple computer screens. You would be able to navigate and identify the opportunities ahead of time. Okay, I was a little stuck with the trade with the yen, and I went into the Nasdaq a little late. Okay, but anyway, so with the S&P we have a similar situation. The current price is 39. The average is 41, and well, actually, wait a minute, we do have this UFO here, and this one is still valid, right? So let me see, we got 41, yeah, this one is still valid. So we have a downtrend, close below, red color. I guess I missed that UFO because I was looking at the Nasdaq, but more or less the same type of chart pattern developed on the S&P with an entry at this price. Okay, so because we have a strong downtrend, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to maximize that 15-minute time frame chart that I have below with the S&P. Okay, just one sec. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a little issue with my TradeStation. Here we go. So I'm going to maximize that particular chart. Move to the 60-minute time frame. Market condition, should it be long, should it be short? The second step is to define the target strategy. Okay, so I'm going to move into the target strategy. That's your second step. So 60 minutes. Okay. Come on, my friend TradeStation. Well, let me reset my TradeStation, guys. I really dislike when this happens, but it happens that, you know, especially when I'm sharing my screen doing the YouTube streaming. Sometimes I'm really lacking on. It's not only the CPU power, you know. So many times I talk about the CPU power, but also, you know, you have the graphic chipsets on your computers. And TradeStation uses a lot of that as well to plot the charts. So and of course, you know, I have very little of that resource available, because in order to stream via YouTube, so my graphical chipset is also being used, you know, at a pretty intense level. So sometimes you've seen me have to reset my TradeStation and trying to do this as quick as I can so we can continue with the plan, because the idea is to take 1 or 2 trades before we go. So let's see if we can make this happen. Okay, so TradeStation loading. Okay. Almost there. Let me see your comments and questions here. Jose, would these rules apply to currency futures as well? Yes, 100%, Orlando. Which time frame is better for the crude oil, Pedro? So here's the time frames for the crude oil. So for crude oil, what has worked well for me in the past are these time frames here. Okay, 610, 377, 377. That would be the plan. Okay, so let me see if TradeStation already loaded. Yes, we have it. So back to the S&P. Back to the S&P. Okay, so I just missed a trade here that basically we could have reached already our safety target. One sec, my friends. One sec, please, guys. I just want to close this other workspace. Okay, well, some days are like this. Okay, I'm gonna close the workspace. Well, I guess we all need to be patient together as a group. Okay, it's interesting. So my TradeStation seems to be reacting well to everything but closing the workspace. Okay, now. Good. So I am now closing that workspace that we don't need, is the options workspace. Here we go. We're back to the S&P. Okay. So yeah. So yeah. As we said, anyone was able to the GPU, exactly, Pedro. Anyone was able to get in the trade by any chance? Because, you know, again, this trade has reached the target one. I'm not gonna plan it. It's too late for that. I'll wait 5 minutes and replan the trade with a new close. Okay, if that's okay. But basically, that UFO here, you know, being 40 to 42 was lining up with the average. Okay, and you know, a few minutes from now, coinciding with my little technical trouble here, you know, there was a possibility to enter short. Okay, and this movement has taken place since then. And that would be a profit on your side, okay? Profit only to reach to the